Hey. Welcome back to my channel. I know it's been a while, but guess what? I'm back, and better than ever. I've missed you all, and I can't wait to dive back into the content you love. There's so much coming your way, so if you're not already part of the fam, what are you waiting for? Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and turn on that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Get ready for new energy, fresh content, and all the vibes. Let's make this comeback epic. Let's go. Sonia stood in the white tree pavilion, casually holding a knife behind her back, because, well, drama. Just moments earlier, she had been lounging at her table, reading a letter from Yewa. One glance at the response and her mood flipped. With an exaggerated gasp of disbelief, she slammed the letter to the floor, making poor Gowan flinch like he'd just seen a ghost. Is Yewa seriously joking right now? She snapped, eyes blazing. But then, oops. She remembered they weren't alone. Instantly, her fury vanished behind a sweet smile. She crouched down gracefully, pretending to pick up the letter. Oh no, I missed the bug, she said lightly, swatting at the air. Just trying to catch a little insect. Gowan, still frozen in place, just stared at her with a look that said, what in the world did I just witness? Yewa's letter had a polite tone, but every word felt like a slap to Sonia's pride. The decision to confine you so suddenly must have been embarrassing, Yewa wrote, and for that, I apologize in advance. She went on to say that Sonia would understand everything when she grows up, and that she'd be grateful one day if she just followed her mother's wishes. Sonia's eyes narrowed. Yewa even assured her that she was safe now, that no one could threaten her anymore, and ended the letter with motherly advice. Eat regularly, get plenty of rest, take care of yourself. Sonia held her pen tightly, knuckles white. This wasn't the answer she asked for. She didn't want soothing words. She didn't want vague promises about safety or gentle reminders to eat her meals. She wanted the truth, the reason for her confinement, not this carefully wrapped nonsense pretending to care. She wanted answers, and this letter gave her none. With firm resolve, Sonia began writing her response to Yewa. This isn't what I'm curious about, she wrote with conviction. I'm not asking for comforting words. I want a real conversation. I want to meet you, even if it's just for a moment. She kept the letter short but sincere. After sealing it, she handed it to Gowan. Give this to Sioyan, she instructed, and tell her to pass it on to Yewa. Do you know where to find her? She asked. Gowan nodded silently and left without another word. Once she was alone, Sonia moved to her cabinet and carefully pulled out a different letter, the secret one Choon had sent her just days before. It was about the healing medicine. She held the hidden message over the candle flame, watching the invisible ink slowly reveal its secrets. Chun's words appeared, an apology first and foremost. She was sorry to hear that Sonia had been ordered to stay confined against her will. She also expressed regret for not being able to meet her, as she had been forbidden from entering the Eastern Palace. Chun's concern was clear. If this message were discovered, it could put them both in danger. That's why, she wrote, they had chosen to deliver the information in the exact methods Sonia had suggested. One final note caught Sonia's eye. Chon had written, by the way, how did you know that vinegar-soaked paper changes color when exposed to heat? The more I learn about you, the more convinced I am that you're a genius. Sonia rolled her eyes and let out a small sigh. Flattering words meant little to her right now. She was done with flowery praise and empty reassurances. She wanted answers, and she would get them, one way or another. According to Chun's letter, things outside the palace were unusually noisy. The delegation from the Western continent had arrived, and their goods were being sold at outrageous prices. But more intriguingly, around the same time, something new had emerged from Yoren's household, a so-called healing medicine. Despite its high cost, the medicine had become wildly popular among the nobles. It was said to make the body feel lighter, the mind clearer, a remedy that dulled pain and brought an almost dreamlike relief. Sonia narrowed her eyes. If even Choon mentioned it, then this couldn't be dismissed as mere rumor. Something was behind it, something real. Just as she was deep in thought, the sound of a door creaking open snapped her out of it. She turned her head. Gowan, she called instinctively, but it wasn't him. Instead, a different lady-in-waiting stepped into the room, carrying a plate with a folded note resting neatly on top. She approached Sonia with a curious smile. I've been looking for you, the maid said softly, offering the note. Sonia took it cautiously, her gaze not leaving the girl's face. But before she could say a word, the maid simply smiled again and ran out of the room without explanation, leaving Sonia standing there, alone and confused, the mysterious note in her hands. A familiar chill crept down Sonia's spine, an ominous feeling she knew all too well. With cautious fingers, she unfolded the letter. The handwriting was unmistakable. Come to the White Tree Pavilion in 3 days during the day. She didn't need a signature to know who it was from. Jian. Exhausted, she sank back into her seat, placing the letter gently on the table. Her thoughts spun. If what Yewa said was true, that she was safe now, then why was she still receiving letters from him? Why did his shadow continue to reach her so easily? But even in her confusion, a decision formed. She would go. She would play her part, the innocent 8-year-old daughter who adored her father more than anything. She'd smile, speak sweetly, and pretend she knew nothing. Because time was slipping away, and as long as she could still move freely, she had to use this chance. Maybe, just maybe, she could uncover what Jian was planning, especially if it had something to do with that mysterious healing medicine. This meeting, it could change everything. 3 days later, morning arrived, but still no response from Yewa. Frustrated and desperate for answers, Sonia made a bold declaration. She would not eat. A hunger strike. Not until Yewa responded. Her ladies-in-waiting were horrified. If Sonia fell ill, they would be held responsible. But she remained firm. She had no intention of sitting idly in the crown princess palace like a silent ornament. Then, in the midst of her silent rebellion, the same lady-in-waiting who had delivered Jian's letter returned. Without a word, she stepped forward and gently touched Sonia's chest. In an instant, Sonia felt a strange sensation wash over her. She looked down and gasped. Her body was becoming transparent, invisible. Even as it happened, she could barely believe it. Powers like this, used so freely? Had the palace barriers really weakened this much? The woman leaned in and whispered, "Leave your escort. Come with me, slowly." Sonia glanced toward Gowan. He didn't say anything, but his eyes met hers and nodded almost imperceptibly. He understood. He would follow. Moments later, Sonia stood outside the palace, a hidden knife tucked behind her back, her heart pounding in her chest. She whispered to herself, "There's nothing to fear. Gowan knows. He'll be there." But the moment she stepped into the White Tree Pavilion, she froze. The man who stood there was not Jian. He looked at her with knowing eyes and a curious smile. "Can you still remember me?" he asked gently. Sonia stared at him, frowning. Her grip tightened on the knife behind her back. She didn't remember him at all. Not even a trace. Sonia stared at the man before her, still unsure who he was. There was no flicker of recognition, no familiarity in his face. Just an unsettling calmness in the way he stood there, watching her. "You must be wondering why I'm here instead of Lord Jian," the man said smoothly. He truly wanted to come himself, but circumstances didn't allow it. He asked me to come in his place. Please, don't be disappointed. But Sonia said nothing, her eyes narrowing slightly. The man tilted his head. "You really don't remember me, do you?" He smiled, as if amused, and stepped forward. "I'm Jisoo," he said, "a servant in the Yoren's main house." He paused, watching her reaction carefully. "But it's understandable you don't remember. It's been a long time." Then, with a sudden snap of his fingers, he looked directly into her eyes. Something strange washed over her, like slipping into a half-forgotten dream. For a brief second, she saw flickers of memory that weren't hers, emotions that didn't belong. Faces, voices, warmth, or maybe fear. But just as quickly, the fog lifted. Sonia blinked and snapped back to reality. Her breath caught. "He's trying to brainwash me." She stepped back instinctively, now certain Jisoo wasn't here for a friendly reunion. His power, whatever it was, had tried to alter her mind. To his surprise, she was still standing firm, unaffected. Jisoo let out a soft laugh. "Interesting. My abilities aren't exactly strong," he admitted with a shrug. "But even so, I didn't expect a child to resist them so quickly." His gaze darkened slightly. "Let's see what happens when I stop holding back." And with that, he stepped closer, this time, his presence heavier, darker, more dangerous. But Sonia, knife still hidden behind her back, was ready. She wasn't just a child. Not anymore. In that moment, a chilling truth sank in. Almost anyone in the Imperial Palace could now use their abilities freely. And Jisoo's ability was mental, which meant that if she wanted to escape, she couldn't give him time to get inside her head. A sudden, close-range strike. That was her only chance. Her fingers tightened around the hidden knife behind her back. Heart pounding, she took a step forward and swung, aiming straight for him. But before the blade could make contact, Jisoo caught her wrist midair, his grip iron strong. The knife clattered to the ground between them. He looked down at her, brows slightly raised. "I think I've underestimated you," he said with a slight chuckle. "You're getting scarier, Sonya." Sonya didn't respond, but her mind was racing. Her usual backup plan, Gowan, might not work here. If Jisoo's powers touched Gowan's mind, it could end badly for both of them. She was on her own. But something about Jisoo's presence unsettled her, less like a predator, more like a test. He wasn't trying to hurt her, at least not yet. Taking a slow breath, she asked cautiously, "Were you really sent by Giant?" Jisoo didn't hesitate. "Yes." He's been agonizing, wondering whether his daughter still loves him. Sonya blinked, caught off guard by the unexpected softness in his words. Of all the things she expected to hear, that wasn't one of them. Her grip loosened slightly. Doubt crept in, mixing with the fear. What was Giant planning, and why now of all times? Was he suddenly wondering about love? Jisoo's voice softened, but his words dripped with quiet menace. "There's nothing to be afraid of, Sonya," he said gently. "I only need to plant a small truth in your mind. That's all." He stepped closer, gaze steady. "I just wish you had shown your father the respect and love he deserved long ago," he murmured. "If you had, none of this would have happened." Sonya's chest tightened. That was enough. She took a step back and screamed, "Help!" In an instant, a figure appeared behind Jisoo like a phantom emerging from the wind. The man grabbed Jisoo's shoulder, yanked him backward, and drove his fist straight into his stomach. The blow landed with a heavy thud. Jisoo gasped, stumbling but quickly retaliated, his eyes glowing faintly as he activated his ability, reaching into the man's mind to twist it. But before he could finish, Sonya shouted, "His ability! He can brainwash you!" The man, still calm, didn't flinch. "It won't work on me." Jisoo's expression twisted in disbelief. "Kneel," he commanded, but instead of obedience, he was rewarded with a resounding slap across the face. Sonya flinched, eyes wide in shock. Jisoo staggered to the ground, his control completely shattered. One blow, one slap, and it was over. His power had failed completely. Sonya looked up at the man who had saved her, heart still racing. And then she noticed something. Tucked into his hair was a hairpin. Elegant, refined, and unmistakably royal. "He's one of Yewa's followers." She stared at the pin more closely. Every magical artifact she had seen until now had been black, used for secrecy, concealment, or protection. But this one shimmered with a pale, light green glow. Rare, beautiful, and powerful. And suddenly, Sonya realized, this man wasn't just any protector. He was someone important, someone Giant hadn't expected. The man calmly sat on Jisoo's back, as if he were nothing more than a bench, his face planted flat on the ground beneath him. "Did that surprise you?" the man asked, turning slightly to glance at Sonya with a faint smirk. Sonya, still catching her breath, gave a respectful bow of her head. "Thank you for saving me." But before she could say more, Jisoo groaned dramatically beneath them. "What about me?" he whined. "He's too heavy. He's breaking my back." Sonya blinked, unsure for a moment what to do. Then a thought struck her. Maybe I can use this opportunity. She looked up at the man again, a mischievous gleam in her eye. "Do you still have a little time?" she asked sweetly. "I could use your help one more time." The man raised an eyebrow but nodded without hesitation. "Of course." Sonya's expression changed. Her eyes darkened into something slightly terrifying. She stepped forward slowly and said in a serious tone, "Open his mouth." Without a word, the man leaned forward and easily pried Jisoo's mouth open, ignoring his protests. Jisoo's eyes widened as Sonya reached into her bag and pulled out a piece of candy. She held it up between her fingers, showing it to both of them. The man tilted his head, confused but amused. Jisoo began to panic. No, wait, don't you dare. You know I hate sweet. Too late. With precise timing, Sonya popped the candy into his mouth and smirked as Jisoo squirmed in agony, forced to endure its sweetness. Meanwhile, not too far away, Gowan remained standing still in the shadows, his eyes fixed on the direction Sonya had gone. Time passed, but she hadn't summoned him. And yet he waited, endlessly, because if she needed him, even once, he would come running without a second thought. Jisoo gagged slightly, but with the man still firmly seated on his back and no choice left, he chomped down on the sweet. It wasn't just a candy, it was more like a cookie, crumbly and oddly flavored. Chew it. Swallow it, Sonya instructed with a smug expression. And I'll consider letting you go. Miserable, Jisoo obeyed. The moment he gulped it down, he turned his head slightly and groaned. What did you feed me? Sonya crossed her arms and raised a brow. Be respectful. But what was it? He demanded, growing more agitated. You fed me something weird. I felt it. Sonya tilted her head, amused. Good, she thought. Maybe it's working. She decided to test it. Let's start simple, she said. Did Jian really send you? Jisoo, lying face first in the dirt, scowled. You think I'll just spill everything because of some weird cookie? Then he grinned slightly, eyes defiant. Are you planning to kill me if I don't answer? Sonya frowned. The cookie was supposed to mildly scramble his focus, a trick she'd learned by accident. Not real poison or anything dangerous. But it only worked sometimes. Maybe it wasn't strong enough, or maybe he's just too stubborn. Still, she wasn't about to back down now. She knelt beside him, meeting his gaze with cold determination. I don't need to kill you, Jisoo, she said softly. But I do know how to make you very, very uncomfortable. Jisoo swallowed hard, not because of the cookie this time. The man sitting on his back casually flexed his knuckles. Want to try that cookie again? The man asked with a cheerful smile. Jisoo let out a resigned sigh. Yes. Jian sent me. Sonya's eyes lit up, not with triumph, but with a spark of something deeper. Now it was time to find out why. Yes, Sonya replied coolly, folding her arms. Jisoo squinted up at her, curious despite himself. How exactly do you plan to make me uncomfortable, Your Highness? You're a princess. Do you even know what death is? Sonya sighed, clearly unimpressed. Now you're just stalling. She stepped closer, voice sharpening. Let me ask you something. What did you just eat? Jisoo flinched. That thing. Sonya leaned down slightly, her eyes gleaming. You really don't know much, do you? That's unfortunate. He opened his mouth to speak, but she cut him off. If you want to live, Jisoo, you'll answer every single question I ask you. Clearly. Honestly. Without delay. A beat of silence passed. Then, slowly, Jisoo bowed his head in defeat. I was a spy, he said hoarsely. Sent by Lord Jian. That's the truth. He looked up at her, panic creeping into his voice. But that candy, was it poison? I can feel it doing something to me. His face paled. I was foolish to treat the crown princess so rudely. I see that now. Please, Your Highness. I admit my mistake. He lowered his head fully to the ground. Spare my life. Sonya didn't say anything at first. She simply watched him, calm and quiet, the image of a child cloaked in eerie composure. Let him squirm a little longer, she thought. After all, fear could be just as powerful as any weapon. Sonya stood over Jisoo, watching him grovel pitifully, forehead pressed to the floor as he begged for mercy. I was just trying to blackmail him for leftover snacks, she thought, baffled. And he fell for it so easily. She tilted her head, studying him like one might study a strange bug. Was he really this foolish all along? The man who had helped her, still perched casually nearby, glanced her way. Are you sure you want to leave it like this? Sonya gave a small nod, her gaze never leaving Jisoo. It's fine. Look at him. She stepped closer and crouched slightly. Tell me your name again, she said, calm but commanding. And why exactly did Jian hire you? Jisoo swallowed hard, collecting himself. I'm Jisoo. I work as a servant in Yoren's main house, he said, then added, my ability involves mild mental manipulation, suggestive influence. I can bend thoughts, memories, Sometimes. Sonya's eyes narrowed. He went on, voice trembling but sincere. I'm your father's follower. I love and respect him more than anyone else. My only mission was to help you form a good impression of him through subtle persuasion. Sonya's jaw clenched. Was that all you were told to do? She asked sharply. Jisoo didn't hesitate. Yes, nothing more. For a moment, Sonya simply stared, watching him shake under her gaze. Then she slowly stood up. So this is the kind of man my father surrounds himself with. Loyal, but not very bright. The twisted affection in Jisoo's voice didn't sit well with her. And now, she needed to decide whether to use him or discard him. Sonya stood still, her thoughts spinning. So father suspects me, she realized. No matter how well I act, he sees through it. Like a ghost lurking behind glass, unseen but always there. She clenched her fists for a moment, then loosened them as Jisoo's voice cut through her thoughts. Your Highness, he said, nervously shifting on the ground. May I go now? I really didn't have any other purpose. I'm just a servant. Sonya glanced down at him again. Naive, foul-mouthed, physically weak. But that ability of his power to manipulate the mind, especially when unnoticed, was rare. And his pathetic sense of self-preservation, oddly useful. She made her decision. You think I'll just let you go? She said coolly, kneeling down and grabbing his jaw, forcing him to look at her. He flinched. You frightened me for no reason. If that's all my father ordered, then your very presence was nothing but annoying. And you, her voice sharpened, you weren't even polite. You knew who I was, and still acted like some common thug. Jisoo swallowed hard, terrified by the icy calm in her tone. But Sonya released his jaw with a little push. I am merciful. I won't ask you to do much. She stood and dusted her hands. Go back to Jian. Tell him you did your job well. That the seed has been planted. Her eyes gleamed. Then come back to me within 5 days. Understand? Jisoo blinked, stunned. Why, yes, your highness. Oh, and one more thing, she said sweetly. If you ever think about betraying me, keep it in your thoughts. Because the thing inside you will know. And it'll suffocate you before you finish the idea. Jisoo went pale. Sonya waved a hand lazily. Go on. I don't have patience for cowards. Without another word, Jisoo scrambled to his feet and bolted, running like his life depended on it, because now he truly believed it did. Sonya watched him go, eyes thoughtful. She hadn't expected to gain a pawn today. But she did, and now the real game could begin. Sonya stood alone again, the tension finally draining from her limbs. She knew all too well that strange poisons, just like those in martial arts novels, existed in their world too. And thankfully, her gamble had paid off. Things had gone just as she hoped. But now, she had to face the other lingering matter, the man who had saved her. She turned to him, composed and graceful, and gave a proper bow. Thank you again for helping me. The man raised an eyebrow, his tone playful. You don't seem like a 10-year-old. You're far too clever for your age. Sonya straightened, a hint of a smirk tugging at her lips. That's a secret in its own way. Though somehow, everyone keeps discovering it by accident. The man chuckled, clearly entertained. I've heard rumors, he said, that the crown princess is usually a quiet, kind child. His gaze rested on her thoughtfully. From what I've seen, that might be true. But it also feels like the complete opposite. Sonya gave him a knowing smile. Rumors rarely capture the full picture, do they? Princess Kang. The sudden mention of her name made Sonya freeze. She turned sharply, eyes wide. How do you know that name? She asked, voice low with both curiosity and caution. The man smiled, casually tucking his hands behind his back. Your story is quite famous, your highness. Like the tale of the bold and arrogant Princess Consort. Sonya's brows furrowed. Consort? Audacious and arrogant? What is he implying? She stepped forward, voice firmer now. What do you mean by that? And who are you? She added, with a hint of formality. Whoever you are, I owe you a great debt. I'll be sure to repay your kindness properly. But the man only chuckled and shook his head. Don't be so impatient, princess. Even if I don't tell you now, you'll learn my name eventually. He turned, taking a step down the path. Besides, if you truly want to repay me, why rush? I was only wandering around, bored. Saving you just made my day a little more interesting. He glanced over his shoulder, eyes glinting with amusement. So walk with me for a while. Let's talk. Sonia hesitated for a heartbeat, then followed. Whoever this man was, he didn't feel ordinary. And now, she was even more curious.